Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Radka Ohlířová, a Product Marketing Manager at Kontent.ai, and with Martin Malinowski, a Senior Product Manager at Kontent.ai, we are going to talk about delivering multiple websites with Kontent.ai. In this webinar, Martin will present how you can effortlessly manage content across multiple websites with the help of Kontent.ai's effective content governance and orchestration. First, Martin will explain what problems we're solving with the multi-site management. Then he'll show you how Kontent.ai can help you manage multiple websites with the available functionality. After the demo, he'll share how Kontent.ai capabilities will evolve to address multi-site use case in the future. And after the presentation, we'll answer your questions, so feel free to drop questions and comments in the chat anytime. Now over to you, Martin.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm thrilled to be here with you all and grateful to Radka for introducing me. I look forward to sharing valuable insights with you all and hope you find this webinar informative and engaging. So please sit back, relax, and let's get started. Why Kontent.ai, a headless CMS vendor, should take care about multiple websites? Is it still a headless CMS if we are talking about multiple websites? What happened to structured content production? I've heard those questions from some of you and other customers or subject matter experts many times. So one of my goals for this webinar is to answer those questions for you. To do that, let's travel back to the past with me. When the initial headless CMSs were released, there was a rise in schema designs like this, with the headless CMS serving as the main platform or sole source of content, which could be delivered to multiple channels, such as websites, mobile applications, chatbots, or voice assistants. Initially, we believed that the main obstacle was learning how to understand and implement structured content. However, over time, something has shifted. Rest assured that the necessity and significance of structured content remain unchanged. It is actually even more important than we could imagine. This schema today looks more like this. Although headless CMS is still the focus, we have noticed an increasing number of customers who require structured content for a different purpose. These customers create content for chatbots and mobile applications, but they also have multiple websites, sometimes reaching up to hundreds, produced by numerous editors. Their content is scattered across different systems worldwide, causing complexity and higher cost. To address this issue, customers want to consolidate and manage their content operations effectively. This involves reusing content across several sites, which requires a shared content model and consistent quality. Ultimately, each website is another endpoint in a massive omnichannel content operation managed in headless CMS. It is important to note that structured content and the headless principles are necessary to find a solution to this problem. As I mentioned, content consolidation is driven by improving ROI, as complex content can be expensive. Our analysis has revealed 4 essential requirements for effective content consolidation. I will briefly walk you through those needs. Orchestration of content repositories, easily reaching resources, keep content consistent, and ensure content compliance. Orchestration of content repository is about cleverly crafted repositories of content, supporting efficiency and reducing friction. Content managers have to design content repositories for global and local content teams and their resources to avoid duplication of content and provide a seamless collaboration experience for all content teams simultaneously. Again, let's imagine a situation where you have 100 content teams around the globe supposed to work in a single system without clearly defined boundaries for those teams. As content operations becomes more complex, the need for easily accessible resources become increasingly important. Content managers must establish an environment in which each content editor can easily reach and reuse shared content while remaining focused on local content production. With easy access to the right content, productivity will improve. As the amount of content increases, it is crucial to maintain consistency. This involves using the same terminology, messaging, and assets, and ensuring high-quality content across all content teams worldwide. It is crucial to ensure content compliance, especially in sensitive industries like healthcare, finance, or legal. Mistakes in these domains, such as providing inaccurate information or inappropriate content, can damage a customer's reputation. Content managers need to trust their content and decrease the possibility of human error. Managing complex content operations on a large scale is costly. That's, that's the reason why content teams are searching for strategies to streamline their operations and maximize their return on investment in various areas. There is an engineering ROI. The goal here is to reduce expenses associated with exploring new channels. To reduce those expenses, customers want to reuse front-end code at least partially and minimize investment into development and maintenance of workarounds and middlewares. Content ROI is a well-known one. This involves costs related to content creation itself. By clever content reuse and improved content production, efficiency ultimately leading to increased quality of content. Management ROI is boosted by reducing expenses associated with supervising content production, providing guidance to local content teams, and onboarding of new colleagues into whole ecosystem, which can be very tedious if information architecture is unclear. Lastly, reputation ROI involves reducing costs caused by human error affecting their customers, and those errors can be costly. Managing customers' complex content has become a new challenge for all enterprise-grade headless CMS vendors. Projects that involve multiple websites are particularly complex. Even the explanation of the client's requirements can be complex, as you can see. So what can we do about it? We will tame the complexity of enterprise content management. This is different from the product guy's bold statements. We have been focused on governance and orchestration needs for some time already, and I'm confident that we are close to the state where we will cover the main governance and orchestration needs described on previous slides. This brings me back to delivering multiple websites. There are various archetypes in multi-site projects, but we'll focus on two of them. The first is multi-brand, which refers to companies that offer different types of products or services under different names. For instance, a company selling a lubricant oil may have multiple brands, each with its website. However, the websites usually have similar structures, so sharing a common content model makes the development easier and enable content reuse across websites. Airlines are another example of multi-brand companies. Although they offer different service tiers and cater to different target audiences, their websites are quite similar. However, when the companies need to localize content, the complexity requirements grow. This shows that it's not just about the multi-brand or multi-region, but also about the combinations. For customers looking for complex content management solution, there is a surprise. Most headless products today are designed to handle only simple content operations. Therefore, they cannot meet all the governance and orchestration needs and expectations already described. Let me explain it a bit more. Often, there is very limited support for dividing content production into manageable local content operations. Instead of this, there is only an ever-growing pile of content created by hundreds of content editors for multiple websites. As a result, the number of content items in a single project can grow super fast. It is difficult even to oversee the global status of content production. You can imagine how complicated it can be to find and reuse content or produce content consistently in such as environment. The second problem is connected with editing experience and visual feedback. We all know that content editors coming from standard web-based content management systems love visual editing because they are just basically used to use specific editors. And we know that the experience can differ with headless CMS. However, with multi-site projects, they want to manage not one, but tens or hundreds of websites while being able to reuse content because they need to be able to preview and edit content in the context of the right website. Only then they can produce the best content. Last but not least is particularly problematic for multi-region customers because there is only one localization setting without an option to customize it for each website. This brings the responsibility back to customer. Customer must choose. Customer must decide, and this is a tough decision because often it's a beginning of the project just after sales process, and customer realizes that something is not as they were expecting, and they have to choose. Start creating website-specific content silos to get at least some level of orchestration governance, but at the same time they are losing reusability potential. Here is one example of what those silos can look like. The customer has to split their complex content operations into many simple ones to separate global and local content operations. Still, they must sacrifice content reusability or invest more engineering resources to migrate content and content model after each change. And even then, getting a global overview of content operation is almost impossible. Still, this approach may be fine for customers not requiring content models and content reuse across multiple websites, because those websites are really isolated, managed by different teams. They do not plan to share content, so they don't need to share a model. However, this can hardly be called the best complex content consolidation. Another option is to pile the content. In that case, customers can share the content model and content across websites. But hundreds of content editors can produce thousands of content items quickly, and such a pile of content requires unavailable advanced orchestration and governance capabilities, because as I mentioned, they are often designed to support simple operations. And those capabilities are necessary to prevent content editors from getting lost in finding shared content and duplicating existing content. It is prone to errors without the ability to preview each content item in the context of the right endpoint or set granular enough permissions for each content team. I wouldn't call it the best complex content consolidation either. Whether siloed or piled content, customers will face compromises that will increase investment and lower ROI. And as we know, everybody wants to increase ROI. What changes do we want to make? We've been observing market issues for some time, and now we are prepared to present our solution. To fulfill our customers' needs, we aim to provide the ability to unify all content into a single Kontent.ai project, while also allowing for division of content into smaller repositories through superior content governance and orchestration capabilities without any compromises. How do we want to achieve it? This is a great question which we were trying to answer for a long time. Here we can see a few content collections used as a global and local content repositories. Each content collection in Kontent.ai has its own user access settings, so it's easy to create shared or private repositories. Recently, we've added an option to customize the available workflows for each collection and content type to increase its governance flexibility. To increase content consolidation capabilities. First, let me show you the current capabilities of content collections. I'm sure that at least some of you are well experienced with collections, but just for sake of completeness, let me demonstrate the collections, including the workflows. So let's jump to the Kontent.ai. In environment settings and collections, you can see that I've already created a number of collections here. Few main collections, health tech surgical and health tech imaging, and then marketing support and legal collections for each of those brands. And there can be many more collections. Let's open one of the collections to just demonstrate what's there. There's a name of collection and the list of workflows applied to this collection. That's something what we will check in a second. Now let's go to the user access control settings. Let's pick my dear colleague Ondřej Krastina. And as you can see right now, he has a role viewer in health tech surgical, and health tech imaging collection, which are the main collections for those brands. If we will pick another collection, health tech support, we can grant Ondřej a different role, for example, content editor. And of course, we can pick a specific language, so we can be even more precise when setting up the roles. And that's it. Now Ondřej has a role viewer in 3 main collections and content editor role in support collections of a health tech brand. Now let's go to the workflows. In the legal workflow I've created, you can see the list of content types. This workflow is applied to any content type in each of a legal collection, as well as it is applied to white paper content type in any collection. And there can be more and more rules, which together with the user access control provides a capability for content managers to set really granular or precise permission model or workflow rules to make sure that everything is under control. Although we initially believed that our collections were sufficient, customer feedback has shown us that something is still missing. We have seen that customers often use collections to represent specific endpoints in an orchestration role. While this has worked, it limits the governance potential of collections. As a result, we recognize the need to organize collections into some kind of hierarchy, allowing for truly local content operations. We have decided to include a new orchestration layer that enables content managers to utilize collections for more specific content repositories instead of solely encapsulating the entire endpoint delivery. The entity is called Spaces. Space provides endpoint-specific context, including unique Web Spotlight content trees and preview configurations, which helps to form local content operations. First, let's take a look at another diagram where you can see the organization of projects, spaces, and collections. This is our example showing Welltail Cosmetics projects, which is an arbitrary multi-brand company. They have three brands: Sweet Nose Fragrances, Kind Man Hygiene, and Right and Bright Oral Care. Each of those brands has its own website, its own preview configuration, its own web spotlight content tree, and they are represented by spaces. And then there are the collections. Here I created a collections for customer support content or product information content or offers. There can be more. There can be legal. There can be a marketing. It's up to each customer. There can be multiple departments. But the reason why customers should split the content into this kind of collection is that usually there are different needs for content in customer support section of the website, different workflow, different user access control than, for example, the product information collection. So now back to the spaces. Let me share with you a brief demo of spaces and their capabilities. So Kontent.ai demo again. Let's go to settings and spaces. Here you can see the list of 3 spaces. Each of the spaces has its name, which is visible in the detail, and there's a unique root item for each space. In a few seconds, I will tell you why the root item is here. Now let's go to preview URL configuration. In the first step, you can see that you can configure the domain for each space. And the domain is then used in a new space macro, which can be incorporated into preview URL configuration. And if macro is not enough for you, you can define absolutely unique URL for each of those spaces, because we know it's not rare that for some content teams there's a difference in URL if there's a word article or articles. So with this configuration, it is possible to, in one space, use in static part the article and for other space articles. Now let's check how actually the preview experience looks like. If I will open the help tech content item, there's a preview button, and after clicking on that, I can choose which preview configuration should be used for this item. The reason for this is that right now there is no connection between the content item and space, so it's up to content editor to decide which space should be used. In Web Spotlight, it's a bit different story, because as I showed a few seconds ago, we do know which root item belongs to which space. So if I'm switching between the spaces, I'm switching the root items and their respective previews. So now let's, from health tech imaging, go to health tech. And you can see that there's a different root item and different tree, because the tree is linked to a root item. So now you can create multiple Web Spotlight content trees, each for each space. So there is no need to create any artificial structures in Web Spotlight content tree only to host multiple websites. Since spaces and multiple root items, you can just create a space for each site and root item linked to the space. Here you can see an overview of our solution, which allows customers to unify all their content in a single Kontent.ai project and divide its orchestration and governance with collections and spaces. At the bottom, there is a project. Project provides a shared content model, crucial for efficient engineering teams. Getting a global operations overview is no problem at all, because the project encapsulates everything. In the middle, you can see collections. Collections contain the actual content. Collections can help content managers to form content repositories with shared or private content, thanks to unique user access control for each collection. And then there are workflows. Workflows per collection provides flexibility in setting operations on the content type level. You may have noticed a small exclamation mark in Assets in Collection. This is something I will explain in a few minutes. Now let's jump to the spaces. Spaces do provide a channel-specific information like preview configuration or unique Web Spotlight content tree for each space to provide a better rider experience. And again, there is a small exclamation mark. So now you've seen what is possible today. So we are moving together to the last part of the webinar. But before that, I actually talked a lot about customer feedback, so I can share some with you as well. I've prepared a few testimonials for you. Mark Lamont told us that Kontent.ai is valuable for team collaboration across sites and brands. No more searching for data in multiple places or worrying about duplication. All can access from the same source. The second testimonial is from Hugh. Hugh shared with us that with Kontent.ai, they could easily customize the CMS for their preferred tech stack and deploy it across 12 global sites with varying brand and country requirements with ease. And now it's time for roadmap. We've received a solid customer feedback regarding the missing option to preview content in Web Spotlight in different breakpoints, which would help content editors be more confident during content production. During the first half of summer, we'll introduce multi-resolution preview for Web Spotlight. As part of this release, we'll present an option to share links of previewed items in Web Spotlight with colleagues. And now to the exclamation marks. The first one was connected with assets in collections. As you've seen in the testimonials, we've received positive feedback about our collections and multi-site support. However, some customers have expressed concern about having only one shared asset library for all collections. For this reason, we plan to enable our customers to add assets to their content collections later this year, including an improved permission model for assets. This will again empower content collections to provide our customers with even better content consolidation capabilities. And last but not least, you may have noticed that there currently needs to be more connections between the spaces and collections. This is our next huge milestone in providing native multi-site support. We will help the content manager to form a truly local content operation by linking spaces and collections. This will allow content editors to focus on their tasks and work more effectively because they will be able to use spaces as a first level filter while working in Kontent.ai. In addition, spaces will be incorporated into content delivery to align developers' capabilities with content editors. And that's it. That's our roadmap. The last remark is I would like to ask if you are keen on taking part in the initial testing of specific features I've demonstrated today, please inform me through the chat or by reaching out to me directly. And that's it. Thank you for your attention during my presentation. I'm now open to answering any questions you may have had during the webinar. Radka, it's your turn to take the stage.